It's me! Oh, we're back! Back to the old set. Took a break last week for a little Hawaiian backdrop. It's still here. Man, we'll change it up from time to time. I'm running out of tapestries. I got a green screen though, so if my guy editing this, props to him. Shit, man. His name's in my phone, which is taping this. But props to my guy editing this. You know what? He's watching it because he edited. Put your name up right now. Edit it. Give yourself some credit. I think it's Tim. I bet it's not. If it's not Tim, draw a dick in my face. Anyway, oh boy, you know what this is. You tuned in for this bullshit again. Public Domain with Kyle Kinane. Still reading Dracula. Man, was kind of a good book, started to be a real good book, and then took a shit right in the middle. So, we're trying to get through these letters from these gals, back and forth. Real long in the tooth, these broads. In chapter 9, we are not... Oh no, looks like we got a lot of correspondence, a lot of information going back and forth for number 9, so we might be in luck. Playing for some, we're playing for charity. We're doing this for charity. I'm gonna go back to the same one we did for chapter 8, tipyourwaitstaff.com, Mike Birbiglia's compilation of GoFundMes for various comedy clubs. If you gave last week, maybe this week, pick a different club. Pick a city you'd like to go to, or a club that maybe you've heard about a lot. Not to play favorite. I do have my favorites in that list, but there's clubs that you've probably heard about from other comics talking about them, that they just love them. Punchline in San Francisco's on there. Comedy on State in Madison, where I recorded my album that's maybe coming out soon. Shh, don't worry about nothing. But yeah, that's a lot of good clubs. Probably something regional. Otherwise, the two others that we played for already were GiveTogetherNow.org and ROCUnited.org. Give Together Now, from what I gathered, funds go a grant directly to families in need, and ROC United is Restaurant Opportunities and Careers United. So that's for wait staff and people in the restaurant industry that are, accept tips, that need tips to live for people going out to dine, which you can't do right now. I don't know. Well, shit, man, I don't know when this is coming out. What'd they tell us? May 15th? Your boy's doing good here, but I don't know how you guys are doing. If you're not, get some exercise. Do some just do like jumping jacks. Move the blood through. You're eating a lot of crap and drinking, and that's clean your gutters. Springtime, clean your gutters. I got jumping rope right over there. Jumping rope? Yeah, I say it the old-timey way. Stretch though. I jump roped, locked up my Achilles for a whole day afterwards. So remember to do that. Okay. We're running chapter 9. Checkity check. Public Domain with it's me, Kyle Kinane. Oh boy. Let's last time it was Renfield got out, the nutty patient from the doctor who was courting one of these gals, and the other gal, she got bit by a vampire because they got their Dracula's in London. He's got a house now. He's all set up, got a new spot. All his boxes of dirt are there. All right, 9 letter. Mina Harker to Lucy Westenra. And again, I'll probably skip around because this broad, she goes on. My dearest Lucy, I know you'll be anxious to hear all that has happened since we parted at the railway station in Whitby. Well, my dear, I got to Hull and all right, and caught the boat to Hamburg and then the train on here. I feel that I can hardly recall anything of the journey, but she will, except that I knew I was coming to Jonathan, and that as I should have to do some nursing, I had better get all the sleep I could. I found my dear one, oh, so thin and pale and weak-looking. All the resolution is gone out of his dear eyes, and that quiet dignity which I told you was in his face has vanished. When did this dude get out of the castle? When was his... Hold on. I'm going back. Do you guys remember? 5. Okay, so he got up. Sorry, forgive me for needing to... What... that's on my time. This is on your time. You guys have been keeping up. That's my fault for not doing my homework. Anyway, or maybe he didn't. Maybe it's just the the whole thing. Yeah, whatever. All right, whenever he's in the hospital, doesn't look good. He's only a wreck of himself, and he does not remember anything that has happened to him for a long time past. At least, he wants me to believe so, and I shall never ask. He has had some terrible shock, and I fear it might tax his poor brain if he were to try and recall it. Sister Agatha, who is a good creature and a born nurse, tells me that he has raved of dreadful things whilst he was off his head. I wanted her to tell me what they were, but she would only cross herself and say she would never tell, that the ravings were of the sick were the secrets of God, and that if a nurse through her vocation should hear them, she should respect her trust. She is a sweet, good soul, and the next day, when she saw I was troubled, she opened up the subject again, and after saying she could never mention what my poor dear raved about, added, I can tell you this much, my dear, that it was not about anything which he has done wrong himself, and you, as his wife-to-be, have no cause to be concerned. He has not forgotten you or what he owes to you. His fear was of great and terrible things, which no mortal can treat of. That's made the nurse like, hey, don't worry, he didn't fuck anybody else. These are about things from another dimension. Calm down. He wasn't skeeving on you. He's seen demons. Thanks, nurse. I do believe the dear soul thought I might be jealous, lest my poor dear should have fallen in love with any other girl. That's it. He's just like, don't worry, it's not that. It's the devil. The idea of my being jealous about Jonathan. And yet, my dear, let me whisper, I felt a thrill of joy through me when I knew that no other woman was a cause of trouble. I am now sitting by his bedside where I can see his face while he sleeps. He is waking. Put your pen down. When he woke, he asked me for his coat, as he wanted to get something from the pocket. I asked Sister Agatha, and she brought all his things. I saw that amongst them was his notebook, and was going to ask him to let me look at it, for I knew then that I might find some clue to his trouble. But I supposed he must have seen my wish in my eyes, for he sent me over to the window, saying he wanted to be quite alone for the moment. Then he called me back, and when I came, he had his hand over the notebook, and he said to me very solemnly, Wilhelmina. I knew then that he was in deadly earnest, for he has never called me by that name since he asked me to marry him. You know, dear, my ideas of the trust between husband and wife. There should be no secret, no concealment. I have had a great shock, and when I try to think of what it is, I feel my head spin round, and I do not know if what was all real or the dreaming of a madman. You know, I have had a brain fever, this pesky brain fever. And that is to be mad. The secret is here, and I do not want to know it. I want to take up my life here with our marriage. For, my dear, we had decided to be married as soon as the formalities are complete. Are you willing, Wilhelmina, to share my ignorance? Here is the book. Take it and keep it. Read it if you will, but never let me know, unless indeed some solemn duty should come upon me to go back to the bitter hours, asleep or awake, sane or mad, recorded here. He fell back exhausted, and I put the book under his pillow and kissed him. I have asked Sister Agatha to beg the Superior to let our wedding be this afternoon, and I'm waiting her reply. She has come and told me that the chaplain of the English Mission Church has been sent for. We are to be married in an hour, or as soon after Jonathan awakes. Lucy, the time has come and gone. I feel very solemn, but very, very happy. Jonathan woke a little after the hour, and all was ready, and he sat up in bed, propped up with pillows. He answered his "I will" firmly and strongly. I could hardly speak. My heart was so full that even those words seemed to choke me. The dear sisters were so kind. Please God, I shall never, never forget them, nor the grave and sweet responsibilities I have taken upon me. I must tell you of my wedding present. When the chaplain and the sisters had let me alone with my husband, oh, Lucy, it is the first time I have written the words "my husband," left me alone with my husband, I took the book from under his pillow and wrapped it up in white paper and tied it with a little bit of pale blue ribbon which was round my neck, sealed it over the knot with sealing wax, and for my seal I used my wedding ring. Then I kissed it and showed it to my husband, and told him that I would keep it so, and then I would be an outward and visible sign to all our lives that we trusted each other, that I would never open it unless it were for his own dear sake and for the sake of some stern duty. Then he took my hand in his, and oh, Lucy, it was the first time he took his wife's hand and said it was the dearest thing in all the wide world, and that he would go through all the past again to win it if need be. The poor dear meant to have said a part of the past. The poor dear meant to have said a part of the past, but he cannot think of time yet, and I shall not wonder if at first he mixes up not only the month but the year. Well, my dear, what could I say? I could only tell him that I was the happiest woman in all the wide world, and that I had nothing to give him except myself, my life, and my trust, and that with these went my love and my duty for all my days of my life. My dear, when he kissed me and drew me to him with his poor weak hands, it was like a very Lucy, dear, do you know why I tell you all this? It is not only because it is a sweet to me, but because you have been and are dear to me. Blah, blah, she hopes that Lucy's happy. Jonathan's awaking. I must attend to my husband. Your ever-loving Mina Harker. I don't want to read anything out of Mina Harker ever again. Letter, Lucy Westenra to Mina Harker. Oh, my dearest Mina. Oceans of love and millions of kisses, and may you soon be in your own home with your own husband. Yeah, I have an appetite like a cormorant. I'm full. Arthur's here. We have such walks and drives. He loves, but Arthur, he tells me that he loves me more, but I doubt that. For at first he told me that he couldn't love me more than he did then. Mother sends her love. She seems better, poor dear. We're to be married September 28th. Dr. Seward's driver. Here we go. That was all they could have said. Mina got married. She's not going to look at his diary. Fucking Lucy getting married to the guy. 20th of August. August 20th. The case of Renfield grows even more interesting. Go compared to the rest of this shit. Of course it does. He is now so far quieted that there are spells of cessation from his passion. For the first week after his attack, he was perpetually violent. Perpetual violence. That's hardcore. Then one night, just as the moon rose, he grew quiet and kept murmuring to himself, "Now I can wait. Now I can wait." The attendant came to tell me, so I ran down at once to have a look at him. He was still in the straight waistcoat in the padded room, but the suffused look had gone from his face, and his eyes had something of their old pleading, I might almost say cringing softness. I was satisfied with his present condition, and directed him to be relieved. The attendants hesitated, but finally carried out my wishes without protest. It was a strange thing that the patient had humor enough to see their distrust, for coming close to me, he said in a whisper, all the while looking furtively at them, "They think I could hurt you. Fancy me hurting you, the fools." It was soothing somehow to the feelings to find myself dissociated, even in the mind of this poor madman, from the others. But all the same, I do not follow his thought. Am I to take that I have anything in common with him, so that are we, as it were, to stand together, or has he to gain from me some goods so stupendous that my well-being is needful to him? I must find out later on. Tonight he will not speak. Even the offer of a kitten or even a full-grown cat will not tempt him. He will only say, "I don't take any stock in cats. I have more to think of now, and I can wait. I can wait." This creepy son of a bitch. After a while, I left him. The attendant tells me that he was quiet until just before dawn, and that then he began to get uneasy, and at length violent, until at last he fell into a paroxysm, which exhausted him so that he swooned into a sort of coma. Who swoons into a coma? Renfield. Swoon into a coma. Perpetual violence and swoon into a coma. Seward writes some, these are some Morrissey level song titles. 3 nights has the same thing happened. Violent all day, then quiet from moonrise to sunset. I wish I could get some clue to the cause. It would almost seem as if there was some influence which came and went. Happy thought! We shall tonight play sane wits against mad ones. He escaped before without our help. Tonight he shall escape with it. We shall give him a chance, and have the men ready to follow follow in case they are required. You'll let this nut escape on purpose. 23rd August. The unexpected always happens. How well Disraeli knew about life. Our bird, when he found the cage open, would not fly, so all our subtle arrangements were for naught. At any rate, we have proved one thing, that the spells of quietness last a reasonable time. We shall in future be able to ease his bonds for a few hours each day. I have given orders to the night attendant merely to shut him in the padded room, and once he is quiet, until an hour before sunrise. The poor soul's body will enjoy the relief even if his mind cannot appreciate it. Hark! The unexpected again! I am called. The patient is once more escaped. Later. Another night adventure. Renfield artfully waited until the attendant was entering the room to inspect. Then he dashed out past him and flew down the passage. I sent word for the attendants to follow. Again he went into the grounds of the deserted house, and we found him in the same place, pressed against the old chapel door. When he saw me, he became furious, and had not the attendants seized him in time, he would have tried to kill me. As we were holding him, a strange thing happened. He suddenly redoubled his efforts, and then as suddenly grew calm. I looked around instinctively, but could see nothing. Then I caught the patient's eye and followed it, but could trace nothing as it looked into the moonlit sky, except a big bat, which was flapping its silent and ghostly way to the west. Bats usually wheel and flit about, but this one seemed to go straight on, as if it knew where it was bound for, or had some intention of its own. You bet it did. The patient grew calmer every instant, and presently said, "You needn't tie me. I shall go quietly." Without trouble, we came back to the house. I feel there is something ominous in his calm, and shall not forget this night. Lucy Westenra's diary. Hillingham, 24 August. I must imitate Mina and keep writing things down. No, you don't. Then we can have long talks when we do meet. I wonder when it will be. I wish she were here with me again, for I feel so unhappy. Last night I seemed to be dreaming again, just as I was at Whitby. Perhaps it is the change of air, or getting home again. It is all dark and horrid to me, for I can remember nothing. But I am full of vague fear, and I feel so weak and worn out. When Arthur came to lunch, he looked quite grieved when he saw me, and I hadn't had the spirit to try to be cheerful. I wonder if I could sleep in Mother's room tonight. I shall make an excuse to try. 25th August, another bad night. Mother didn't want her to sleep there. All right, here. Mother did not seem to take to my proposal. She seems not too well herself. Doubtless she fears to worry me. I tried to keep awake and succeeded for a while, but when the clock struck 12, it waked me from a doze. I must have been falling asleep. There was a sort of scratching or flapping at the window, but I did not mind it, as I remembered no more. I suppose I must have then fallen asleep. That's a bat came in and got ya! More bad dreams! I wish I could remember them. This morning I am horribly weak. My face is ghastly pale. Let me guess, the rosy cheeks went away. I got it. Letter Arthur Holmwood to Dr. Seward. My dear Jack, I want you to do me a favor. Lucy is ill. That is, she has no special disease, but she looks awful. It's getting worse by the day. I've asked her if there's any cause. I do not. She's a vampire. That's the cause. I do not dare ask her mother because she's old, sick. Mrs. Westenra, disease of the heart. She knows she's going to die. Lucy doesn't know she's going to die. You are to come to lunch at Hillingham tomorrow, 2:00, so as not to arouse any suspicion in Mrs. Westenra. And after lunch, Lucy will take an opportunity of being alone with you. I shall come for tea, and we can go away together. I'm filled with anxiety. I want to consult with you alone as soon as I can have blah, 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 blah. Okay, telegram from Arthur to Seward again. Am summoned to see my father, who is worse. Am writing. Write me fully by tonight's post to ring. Wire me if necessary. Letter from Seward to Arthur. My dear old fellow, with regard to Miss Westenra's health, I hasten to let you know at once that, in my opinion, there is not any functional disturbance or any malady that I know of. At the same time, I am not by any means satisfied with her appearance. She is woefully different from what she was when I saw her last. Talk about them rosy cheeks. Of course, you must bear in mind that I do not have full opportunity of examination, such as I should wish. Our very friendship makes a little difficulty, which not even medical science or custom can bridge over. He wants to look up her bits. I had better tell you exactly what happened, leaving you to draw, in a measure, your own conclusions. I shall then say what I have done and propose doing. I found Miss Westenra in seemingly gay spirits. Her mother was present, and in a few seconds I made up my mind that she was trying all she knew to mislead her mother and prevent her from being anxious. I have no doubt she guesses if she does not know what need of caution there is. We lunched alone, and as we all exerted ourselves to be cheerful, we got, as some kind of reward for our labor, some real cheerfulness amongst us. Good for you. Then Mrs. Westenra went to lie down, and Lucy was left with me. We went into her boudoir. Until we got there, until we got there, her gaiety remained, for the servants were coming and going. As soon as the doors closed, however, the mask fell from her face, and she sank down into a chair with a great sigh, and hid her eyes with her hand. When I saw that her high spirits had failed, I at once took advantage of her reaction to make a diagnosis. She said to me very sweetly, I cannot tell you how I loathe talking about myself. I reminded her that a doctor said you should get a tip from Wilhelmina. She can't shut up about herself. Or you goddamn rosy cheeks. I reminded her that a doctor's confidence was sacred, but that you were grievously anxious about her. She caught on to my meaning at once and settled that matter in a word. Tell Arthur everything you choose. I do not care for myself, but all of it for him. So I am quite free. All right. It's tequila, LaCroix, plain LaCroix, a lemon wedge left over from some fish dish we had the other night. Not that you care, but that's what these tumblers though. I don't know who this is made by. This is just the name of a school. I had iced cocktail in this the other day. 5 hours, ice still in it. I know, why should I be drinking a drink for 5 hours? But you pour it strong, right? It's like an IV drip. Anyway, that's going to go great for the audio. All right, so she's sick. Doc's over there. This is a doc. Oh, no, it's Doc writing to Gal's soon-to-be husband. I could easily see that she is somewhat bloodless. Somewhat blood. What are the songs we're singing out of this? Constant violence, permanent violence, swoon into a coma, perpetual violence, and now we got somewhat bloodless. But I could not see the usual anemic signs, and by chance I was actually able to test the quality of her blood. For in opening a window which was stiff, a cord gave way, and she cut her hand slightly with broken glass. It was a slight matter in itself, but it gave me an evident chance, and I secured a few drops of the blood and have analyzed them. The qualitative analyst gives a quite normal condition and shows, I should infer, in itself a vigorous state of health. In other physical matters, I was quite satisfied that there is no need for anxiety. But as there must be a cause somewhere, I have come to the conclusion that it must be something mental. She complains of difficulty in breathing satisfactorily at times and of heavy, lethargic sleep, with dreams that frighten her, but regarding which she can remember nothing. She says that as a child she used to walk in her sleep, and that when in Whitby the habit came back, and that once she walked right out in the night and went to East Cliff where Miss Murray found her, but she assures me that of late habit has not returned. I am in doubt, so I have done the best thing I know of. I have written to my old friend and master, Professor Van Helsing of Amsterdam. That's the movie Van Helsing. Didn't see it. Of Amsterdam, who knows as much about obscure diseases as anyone in the world. I have asked him to come over, and as you told me all things were to be at your charge, I have mentioned to him who you are and your relations to Miss Westenra. This, my dear fellow, is in obedience to your wishes, for I am only too proud and happy to do anything I can for her. Van Helsing would, I know, do anything for me for a personal reason, so no matter on what grounds he comes, we must accept his wishes. He is a seemingly arbitrary man, but this is because he knows what he is talking about better than anyone else. He is a philosopher and a metaphysician, and one of the most advanced scientists of his day. And he has, I believe, an absolutely open mind. Absolutely open mind. That's some straight-edge shit. This, with an iron nerve, a temper of the ice brook, an indomitable resolution. Let's go over self-command and toleration exalted from virtues to blessings, and the kindliest and truest heart that beats. These form his equipment for the noble work that he is doing for mankind, both in theory and practice, for his views are as well as his all-embracing sympathy. I tell you these facts that you may know why I have such confidence in him. I have asked him to come at once. I shall see Miss Westenra tomorrow again. She is to meet me at the stores, that I may not alarm her mother by too early a repetition of my call. Yours always, John Seward. Letter, Abraham von Helsing. A lot of Abes back in the day. Get a load of this. Letter, Abraham von Helsing, M.D., D.Ph., D. Literature, etc., to Dr. Seward. This guy, old Van Helsing, got a lot of titles. My good friend, when I have received your letter, I am already coming to you. By good fortune, I can leave it just at once, without wrong to any of those who have trusted me. Were fortune other, then it were bad for those who have trusted. For I come to my friend when he call me to aid those he holds dear. This guy's going to be difficult. Tell your friend that when that time you suck from my wounds so... This is how this guy's going to talk. Tell your friend that when that time you suck from my wounds so swiftly the poison of the gangrene from that knife that our other friend, too nervous, let slip, you did more for him when he wants my aids, and you call for them than all his great fortune could do. What the fuck with this guy? But it is a pleasure added to do for him, your friend. It is to you that I come. Have then rooms for me at the Great Eastern Hotels, that I may be near to hand. And please it so arrange that we may see the young lady not too late on tomorrow, for it is likely that I may have to return here that night. But if need be, I shall come again in 3 days, and stay longer if it must. Till then, goodbye, my friend John Van Helsing. Letter, Dr. Seward to the Honorable Arthur Holmwood, 3rd of September. My dear Art. Oh, we're getting casual now. My dear Art. He's like a lonely rich guy in his house by himself, looking at his paintings. My dear Art. Van Helsing has come and gone. He came on with me to Hillingham and found that, by Lucy's discretion, her mother was lunching out. Them lunching out, man! So that we were alone with her. I like lunching out. Instead of picking out, you're just lunching out, just like having snacks. Van Helsing made a very careful examination of the patient. He is to report to me, and I shall advise you, for of course I was not present all the time. He is, I fear, much concerned, but says he must think. When I told him of our friendship and how you trust me in the matter, he said, you must tell him all you think. Tell him what I think, if you can guess it, if you will. Nay, I am not jesting. This is no jest, but life and death, perhaps more. I asked what he meant by that, for he was very serious. This was when he had come back to town, and he was having a cup of tea before starting on his return to Amsterdam. He would not give me any further clue. You must not be angry with me, Art, because his very reticence means that all his brains are working for her good. All of his brains. And he will speak plainly enough when the time comes, be sure. I fucking hope so. I told him I would simply write an account of our visit, just as if I were doing a descriptive special article for the Daily Telegraph. He seemed not to notice, but remarked that the smuts in London were not quite so bad as they used to be when he was a student here. These smuts. I am to get his report tomorrow, if he can possibly make it. In any case, I am to have a letter. Well, as to the visit, Lucy was more cheerful than on the first day I saw her, and certainly looked better. She had lost something of the ghastly looks that so upset you, and her breathing was normal. She was very sweet to the professor, as she always is, and tried to make him feel at ease, though I could see that the poor girl was making a hard struggle for it. I believe Van Helsing saw it too, for I saw the quick look under his bushy brows that I knew of old. Then he began to chat of all things except ourselves, and diseases, and with such an infinite geniality that I could see poor Lucy's pretense of animation merge into reality. Then, without seeming change, he brought the conversation gently round to his visit, and suavely said, My dear young miss, I have the so great pleasure because you are so much beloved. That is much, my dear. Ever were there that which I do not see. They told me you were down in the spirit, and that you were of ghastly pale. To them I say, poof! And he snapped his fingers at me and went on. But you and I shall show them how wrong they are. How can he? And he pointed at me with the same look and gesture as that with which once he pointed me out to his class on, or rather after, a particular occasion which he never fails to remind me of. Know anything of a young lady's? Oh, he has his madmen to play with, and to bring them back to happiness, and to those that love them, it is much to do. And oh, but there are rewards in that we can bestow such happiness. That's the period. That I started talking a half hour ago. But the young ladies, he has no wife nor daughter, and the young do not tell themselves to the young, but to the old like me, who have known so many sorrows and the causes of them. So, my dear, we will send him away to smoke the cigarette in the garden. Well, you and I have a little talk all to ourselves. What the fuck did any of that mean? I took the hint and strolled about. You took a hint. I wish I could get a hint. I took the hint and strolled about, and presently the professor came to the window and called me in. He looked grave, but said, I have made careful examination, but there is no functional cause. With you, I agree that there has been much blood lost. It has been, but is not. But the conditions of her are in no way anemic. I have asked her to send me her maid, that I may ask just one or two questions, and so I may not chance to miss nothing. I know well what she will say, and yet there is cause. There is always cause for everything. Cause for writing like this. Long drinking. I must go back home and think. You and me both. You must send me to the telegram every day, and if there be cause, I shall come again. The disease, for not to be all well is a disease, interest me. And the sweet young dear, she interest me too. She charm me. And for her, if not for you or disease, I come. She charm me. Not charmed. She charm me. And for her, if not for you or disease, I come. I wish I was more mature. No, I don't. I have a good time. As I tell you, he would not say a word more, even when we were alone. And so now, Art, you know all I know. I shall keep stern watch. I trust your poor father is rallying. It must be a terrible thing to you, my dear old fellow, to be placed in such a position between two people who are both so dear to you. I know your idea of duty to your father, and you are right to stick to it. But, if need be, I shall send you word to come at once to Lucy, so do not be over-anxious unless you hear from me. Dr. Seward's Diary. 4 September. Zoophagous. Back to the zoophagous word. Zoophagous patient still keeps our interest in him. He had only one outburst, and that was yesterday at an unusual time. Just before the stroke of noon, he began to grow restless. The attendant knew the symptoms and at once summoned aid. Fortunately, the men came at a run and were just in time, for at the stroke of noon he became so violent that it took all their strength to hold him. In about 5 minutes, however, he began to get more and more quiet and finally sank into a sort of melancholy, in which state he had remained up till now. The attendant tells me that his screams whilst in the paroxysm and zoophagous, I gotta look up, were really appalling. I found my hands full when I got in, attending to some of the other patients who were frightened by it. Indeed, I can quite understand the effect, for the sounds disturbed even me, though I was some distance away. It is now after the dinner hour of the asylum, and as yet my patient sits in a corner brooding, with a dull, sullen, woebegone look on his face. Oh, woebegone. What is old public radio going to stroll in here? That's nobody. Why would anybody understand what I'm talking about? Which seems rather to indicate than to show something directly. I cannot quite understand it. Later. Another change in my patient. At 5 o'clock, I looked in on him and found him seemingly as happy and contented as he used to be. He was catching flies and eating them, and was keeping note of his capture by making nail marks on the edge of the door between the ridges of padding. What a happy fella. Eating bugs, putting hash marks in the line of his cell. When he saw me, he came over and apologized for his bad conduct and asked me in a very humble, cringing way to be let back into his own room and to have his notebook again. I thought well to humor him. So he is back in his room with the window open. He has the sugar of his tea spread out on the windowsill and is reaping quite a harvest of flies. He is not now eating them, but putting them into a box, as of old, and is already examining the corners of his room to find a spider. I tried to get him to talk about the past few days, for any clue to his thoughts would be of immense help to me. But he would not rise. For a moment or two he looked very sad, and in a sad sort of faraway voice, as though saying it rather to himself than to me. All over, he has deserted me. No hope for me now unless I do it for myself. Then, suddenly turning to me in a resolute way, he said, Doctor, won't you be very good to me and let me have a little more sugar? I think it would be good for me. And the flies, I said. Yes, the flies like it too, and I like the flies, therefore I like it. And there are people who know so little as to think that madmen do not argue. I procured him a double supply and left him happy as a man as. I left him as happy a man as, I suppose, any in the world. I wish I could fathom his mind. Midnight. Another change in him. I had been to see Miss Westenra, whom I found much better, and had just returned, and was standing at our own gate looking at the sunset, when once more I heard him yelling. As his room is on this side of the house, I could hear it better than in the morning. It was a shock to me to turn from the wonderful smoky beauty of a sunset over London, with its lurid lights and inky shadows, and all of the marvelous tints that come on foul clouds, even as on foul water, and to realize all the grim sternness of my own cold stone building, with its wealth of breathing misery, and my own desolate heart to endure it all. I reached him just as the sun was going down, and from his window I saw the red disk sink. As it sank, he became less and less frenzied. And just as it dipped, he slid from the hands that held him, in an inert mass, on the floor. It is wonderful, however, what intellectual recuperative power lunatics have, for within a few minutes he stood up quite calmly and looked around him. I signaled to the attendants not to hold him, for I was anxious to see what he would do. He went straight over to the window and brushed out the crumbs of sugar. Then he took out his fly box and emptied it outside, then threw away the box, and then he shut the window, and crossing over, sat down on his bed. All this surprised me, so I asked him, "Are you not going to keep the flies any more?" "No," he said, "I am sick of all that rubbish. He certainly is a wonderfully interesting study. I wish I could get some glimpse of his mind or of the cause of his sudden passion. Stop, there may be a clue after all, if we can find why today his paroxysms came on at high noon and at sunset. Can it be that there is a malign influence of the sun at periods which affects certain natures, as at times the moon does others?" "Yes, there is, because werewolves are vampires." "We shall see." Telegram, Seward, London to Van Helsing, Amsterdam, 4 September. Patient still better today. Telegram, Seward, London to Van Helsing, Amsterdam, 5 September. Patient greatly improved, good appetite, sleeps naturally, good spirits, color coming back. Telegram, Seward, London to Van Helsing, Amsterdam, 6 September. Terrible change for the worse. Come at once, do not lose an hour. I hold over telegram to homeward till have seen you. Oh, damn. Went down. Some shit went down in this. All right. Well, that was good. We'll get back on track now. Woo! My eyes are not built for this. So our boy got out of the. When did our boy split the castle? Why did I got so caught up in the ghost ship that I totally forgot that our guy split. Marshall making straight the box. He's from the box. That was a good box. The door is shut. I'm reading the end of the chapter 4. Yeah, he left. 5 was him, and then 6 was maybe I'm not forgetting. That's a mystery. How did it get out? All right, guys. Hell yeah, we got chapter 10 coming up. We're making some progress. We're getting there. Be good. Take care of yourselves. Be nice to each other. Do all that stuff. Take care of physical, mental health. They tie into one another. Look out for both of them. All right. Bye.